back your homes, or restore your dead to life.
But perhaps I can give you justice in the name of our king.
We've all seen it, the suspicious hexagonal pattern that the red priests and priestesses wear, not only around their necks but also incorporated into their clothes. But what does it mean? What is the significance of the hexagonal pattern that is so popular to these followers of the Lord of Light? Well, let me say this, while there is much speculation over the special shape, not many answers have been confirmed. First off, most people believe that the neck choker that Melisandre wears and her fellow priestesses, yes, not just Queen Vara, but these ladies as well, are unique to only the Lord of Light followers, if you even remember their small cameo in the show. Don't worry if you don't, just go rewatch seasons 5 and 6, you've got plenty of time. Now, the chokers themselves may just be for this religion's followers, but the hexagonal pattern is more closely related to the culture of Asshai. Oh, and by the way, we've seen more than just red priestesses in the show. We have also seen Zanrush and of course Thoros of Myr. Thoros being a little different than most of the red priests you would likely come across traveling through Westeros and Essos. Anyway, Asshai is the farthest known land southeast at the edge of Essos. It is a place where the darkest of sorcery goes to live. Not much is really known about Asshai, aside from the fact that many ships come to trade food and water for the dense population of valuable gems, gold, and other treasures. The area is so dark and gloomy, even in the peak of summer, that the black stone that makes up the ancient port is said to absorb almost all light. The streets are never crowded, and everyone who resides there shrouds their faces and covers their identity, making for a very uncomfortable setting. Oh, and lastly, the lands that fall behind the Great Walls of Asshai are said to be so big that it could contain Volantis, King's Landing, Karth, and Old Town combined. The show confirmed that the hexagonal pattern is a reference to Asshai, and this is why we see Quaithe donning the suspicious pattern all over her mask and even her clothes. We even see Melisandre wear some outfits with the same pattern. But what does it mean? If it is not strictly reserved for red priests and priestesses, then what is its purpose? The popular opinion is that it helps to veil the true look of someone's features, like when Melisandre took off her choker and transformed into an extremely elderly version of herself. But in the books, rubies are what Melisandre and others use to glamour themselves into a different look to cover their identity. And as we see here, this is clearly a ruby that is embedded in her choker, as well as the others. So there could be an argument for the hexagonal pattern helping the power of glamour be successful when using rubies, or maybe it's just a fashion detail that is very common. Oh, and just a side note that I think is really interesting is that there was actually someone else who famously had a use for rubies. Rhaegar Targaryen, specifically the fact that the breastplate of his armor had many rubies on it, and during the Battle of the Trident when Robert Baratheon personally killed Rhaegar, it was said that Robert hit him so hard with his warhammer that many rubies fell off his breastplate and washed away in the river. Also, as for Rhaegar's body, it was not stated as to who took it, and because of that, I believe we do not have concrete evidence as to where his bones ended up. Along with a few other details, there are many fans who actually believe Rhaegar wasn't really killed in the battle and sent someone else with his armor glamored to look like him from the rubies. And of course, if you wanted to say that when George R.R. Martin mentioned something seemingly inconsequential to the story many times, it definitely has to mean something. So think about the many times the location of Rhaegar's death has been brought up in the books. The location is called Ruby Ford. Now, how about that? Kind of seems like a secret hiding in plain sight, but that's a different story for a different time. I just think it's a pretty cool theory to add since we are on the topic of rubies. So as of right now, we do not have any confirmations as to the significance of the hexagonal pattern that is so prevalent to these unique individuals, other than the fact that it is a reference to Asshai. I think to figure it out, we may need to see some of the mysteries of Asshai unfold, so we may have a better understanding of the culture and the traditions of the dark place. One last thing I want to add. Red priests and priestesses are often slaves before they convert to the Lord of Light religion, and their choker may just be that, a collar we would see on a slave. There is a saying in real life about people who view the world as a variety of slaves. You are always a slave to someone or something, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, or religiously. If you understand this concept, you could agree that Melisandre and her peers are essentially slaves to their religion, thus they wear a choker or a collar fitting of their position. I don't know, just something I thought about. Maybe it's pretty obvious to everyone else already. Let me know in the comments what you think about the religion, the hexagonal pattern, and even Asshai itself. It's always entertaining to hear everyone's perspective on things. Have a great day, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow.